It's Friday. Oh, yeah. And there's all kinds of stories. Man, are we going to be busy? You know, we talk high school football with Glenn Rogers Jr. That comes your way right off the bat here in a few minutes. Then we've got Andy Schiffman as we are less than 2 weeks away from training camp beginning in the NBA. Lots of stories there. And then there is Brian Dacus and this story that is going on right now. If you haven't seen it, Yahoo Sports, Ross Dellinger has published a story that is talking about the new Pac-12, or whatever we're going to call it. And it is very flattering to the University of Memphis that apparently the decision is in their hands, not only for Memphis, but for Tulane and South Florida. He is quoted as saying the University of Memphis is the jewel of the AAC, and frankly, they're the best of the rest. They are. You look at it, success, facilities, tradition, history, they're the best of the rest. The most important thing that you get out of this story with Dellinger is that in a presentation yesterday, the Pac-12 told the schools that they project the television revenue will be $12 to $15 million. And you're able to get out of this deal. The deal's only for 5 years in 31. That's when a lot of deals could change in 31. If the ACC or the Big 12 or the SEC and the Big 10 for that matter make any moves, it would happen after 31. You'd be free. 12 to 15 mil. That league with those three schools, and who knows about UNLV, who knows about Gonzaga as a basketball only, that league is a competitive, compelling, exciting prospect to me. But it's in the hands, according to Dellinger, of the University of Memphis. And again, South Florida and Tulane would be involved. That is big stuff. We'll be talking about that for a while until, I guess, there is some sort of decision, yay or nay. In the meantime, last night, history was made in baseball. Incredible. Really and truly incredible. The show that Shohei Ohtani put on against Miami, one of the great shows, honestly, of all time. Now, I will say this. If you haven't heard, he was 6 for 6. He hit 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. Nobody in a Dodger uniform has ever done that before. 3 home runs. Oh, steals. 2 steals, too, because now he's got 50-50. We'll get into that in a second. No one's ever gone 6 for 6 with 3 home runs and 10 RBI, ever, in the history of the LA Dodgers. It, to me, is one of the greatest performances ever. Now, I will put a caveat on that. A little asterisk, I should say. The last 2 at-bats came against position players. Miami threw in the towel. In fact, they had runners on second and third. They could have walked them later in the game, and the manager said, "No, I'm not doing that. I have too much respect for Shohei." So they tried to take him out, and knuckleballer gave him one over the middle of the plate. Goodbye. So now he's got 51 home runs. 50-50. That was what he was really trying to do, and he did it. It accomplished all of that in the one game. We thought it would take till the end of the season because he got 2 steals, and he had 3 home runs in that game to go to 50-50, the first ever. Look, the only guys ever to have 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in a single season in a career, right? They got one of each over their careers. Barry Bonds, Brady Anderson. No one has ever done it in the same season. You saw Shohei Ohtani do that. That is incredible. Chris, that game was crazy. They beat Miami 20-4. Unreal. And before we make our picks, and then we'll get to Glenn Rogers Jr., Aaron Rodgers looked like he had a Green Bay uniform on yesterday. Did you see what he did? Aaron Rodgers was 27 of 35, 281 yards, 2 touchdowns. Anytime he needed a first down, he was 67% on this. He got it. They had 27 first downs. 27 first downs on 67% third down efficiency. They possessed the ball over 40 minutes. Man, they were good. Now they're 2-1, and he looks like the guy that played in Green Bay. That is for sure. All right, we make our picks every Friday so far. After my perfect week last week, I'm 10-5. After a rough week for my friend Zach Boyd, he is now 5-10. Oof, you've trailed by 5. You could make it up this week if you won all 5 and I lost all 5. But
that's not going to happen.
I've got a feeling we're going to have some similar picks. For instance, Arkansas at Auburn. You know, Arkansas should have beaten Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, some predict, is going to be in the playoff representing the new Big 12. Auburn lost at Cal, or to Cal. They're the 2.5-point favorites. I just don't trust Arkansas because they could have lost. While they could have beaten Oklahoma State, they could have lost to UAB. I think Auburn is going to win this game. I'm going to give the guys on the Plains the edge, and I think they'll win by a field goal. That's all it takes. It's 2.5.
Did Arkansas win last week?
They did. They beat UAB. They came from like 17-0 down or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's keep the momentum going.
You're going to go with Arkansas on the road. Okay. Tennessee, 6.5-point favorite at Oklahoma. You know the thing about home dogs, unless some team is really better. And I think Tennessee is. I'm riding the Vols train. I think they are the real deal. I'm going Tennessee.
Give me Tennessee as well.
All right, so we match on that one. Florida, -6 at Mississippi State. Whew. There's 2 dogs barking right there. Mississippi State got dominated at home by Toledo. Billy Napier is dead man walking, but he's still got something to prove. He's going to play that freshman, and I just don't think Mississippi State's that good. I got to go Florida. I'll give away 6.
Yeah, get the buyout ready. This might be the game right here, Mississippi State.
You are such a homer. Cal at Florida State, -2.5. I'm going to be the homer here, okay? I have no idea about Florida State. You look at their personnel, their talent, they should be winning these games. They haven't. Is DJU going to finally catch on? The defense is pretty good. Cal is a decent team. Florida State's favored by 2.5. All they have to do is kick a field goal, and they got one of the best field goal kickers in America, that Fitzgerald. And I'm homerish here because I like Norvell, right? Former coach. But Memphis needs them to win to make that W at Tallahassee more credible. So I'll homer it here. I'm going to go Seminoles.
Give me Cal Bears.
Okay. So we differ now on 3. You're either back in this thing or sayonara. And then we'll do one NFL game, and I'm doing this one on purpose, too, because I feel really good about it. Baltimore at Dallas. The Cowboys' defense is not so good. Baltimore, I don't know what's happened to them. They have struggled early on here, but even the odds makers know that's not going to last. At Dallas, and the Ravens, last I looked, were favored by a point. And I'm going Baltimore all the way.
Because I really want to pick the Cowboys.
I know you do.
I do.
I know you do. You just want to fall further behind me.
They're at home. They're not playing a Shanahan offense. Give me the Cowboys.
Okay. We differ on 4. This is going to be interesting, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be interesting for sure. We're going to talk high school football. Lots of stories in that regard, too. And it's brought to you in part by the Eflin Insurance Team, where they do insurance the collaborative way. In other words, I want to get to know you. If it's life insurance, if it's for your car or for your home, they're going to sit you down. They're going to take account, see about your family, what's important, what that budget really is, and then they allocate the perfect funds for the perfect security, for the perfect protection. They operate the same way when it comes to commercial insurance for small to mid-sized businesses. They want to get to know you. They want to get to know your employees, what your product is, forecast you out, find that budget, and then protect your business. It's that simple. It's the Eflin Insurance team collaborating with you to make sure that you are protected. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. Don't forget that world's biggest spa sale. It's still going on, probably till the end of the month, right there at I-40 and Whidden Road, where you can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs ready to go right for you, including some that start as low as $28.99. Even those cold plunges are under $4,000. And the Cadillac, the swim spas, start at $17,499 with special financing available. It's worth the trip because it's such a beautiful store and great people to chat with. All you got to do is head to Family Leisure. We head to Ridgeway and Park and talk to our friend, Glenn Rogers Jr., our coach. Lots of stories today, and I know some sadness in the high school community because the coach of Christian Brothers, Thomas McDaniel, he's got a brother who's also a coach in this market. Their father passed away, unfortunately. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, Dave, and all our listeners. It's the Easy B Friday. And you're right, Dave. Coach McDaniel and his brother, his brother's the head coach at FACS, lost their dad. And our condolences go out to Coach McDaniel and his brother and the entire McDaniel family. Coach's dad was a former coach, and so just like my father was a former coach. So just our condolences with the family, and I know it's probably a tough time for he and his brother and his family and their families.
All right, there's some wild stories this week. Hamilton off to a really good start to begin the year. And I think of Hamilton and Melrose, and I think that great inner-city rivalry when I first got here. Roosevelt Hancock was one coach. And things had sort of slipped. Now they're coming back in a great way, and then suddenly the coach, and I think it's his brother, they were both just let go. And no reason given. And I know the two coaches were on TV and they were blasting away, but I don't really know the full story. Do you?
Yeah, and Dave, it was all over a kid that was supposed to be ineligible. Actually, they stopped the game last week and pulled the wrong kid off the field, and so it's kind of weird. The AD and a substitute teacher going out on the field, and maybe they could address it at halftime when the kids was all in the locker room and pulled the coach out and told him about the situation. But during the middle of the game, like I heard the interview and the story. One day of investigative work, and then they go and do all this thing at a football game. It doesn't seem right. Then a coach loses his job and his assistant coaches, in the middle of the season. So hopefully they can get that situation rectified, because we don't want to see anybody lose their job, especially a high school coach who's not, coaches mean so much to these kids. They not only just on game nights, so they do a lot for these kids, taking kids home, making sure they get homework done. A lot of these coaches are like a dad, a father figure to a lot of these young men, Dave, but hopefully that situation gets rectified.
I don't know if it's going to be when the AD fires two guys, unless the AD goes. Something is going to happen one way or the other, and it looks like that will affect them. In fact, they play, and we'll get into that in a little bit because they're playing a really good team tonight in 8-3A. In the meantime, there's one really good story. This has to do with going back to COVID and a commitment Frederick Copeland made with Fairleigh High School to build a weight room. Since they built that weight room during COVID, Fairleigh's team has returned to the great days of yore. They have become a winning program again. It's amazing what a weight room and getting really much stronger and physically fit can do for your football team. And it made me wonder, how many of these public schools, because I know you've got them in the private schools, how many public schools have really great weight rooms to make these kids more competitive?
Well, go back to talking about Fairleigh, Dave, the great legendary Ike White. They honored him in the game early this year. And Coach Slocum, he had led that program for a while. He's a Fairleigh alum, and then Gene Robinson kind of re-erected, got it back going. Got it back, going up, resurrected. I'm sorry, resurrected. And now look, Coach Copeland. I mean, during the pandemic, getting the money raised, him doing the work himself along with other assistant coaches and contractors, getting that weight room done. And I'm gonna tell you something, Dave. Ever since he's been there, that program has been on a winning trajectory, going to the playoffs, having good teams, good kids, going to college. And Dave, there's so many of these programs around the city. If you put money into these sports programs, the kids will thrive. The schools will thrive. People want to go come watch them play. People want to go to the games. The stadiums would be filled. The gymnasiums would be filled. The soccer fields and so on and so forth. We got to understand sports is a big part of society. It's a way for these kids to release some of these, all this aggression and the energy they got channeled up throughout the day. And the coaches are very important. These young men who are leading these programs and the women coaches who are leading these programs, they need support. They need facilities, quality facilities, where these kids can practice, go in a good locker room or a good weight room. And so when you see that with Fairleigh, that could tell you a lot about that should be happening in the city. Put some of these resources in rectifying and rebuilding these weight rooms and basketball gyms and locker rooms, and just see the results of it. And you see the positive results at Fairleigh.
Yeah. Do you know, do they have a weight room at Central? Do they have a weight room at East? Do they have a weight room that's up to par at White Station? Do you know?
A lot of these schools have weight rooms, Dave, but I tell you, when you talk to the coaches, they're outdated. They haven't been worked on in years. Some of them are using used equipment from college teams. Even here in the U.S., our weight room is outdated. And so, when you start talking about facilities and young man development, it starts in the classroom. Student athletes starts in the classroom, but once they finish with the classrooms, they got to be able to go into a nice workout facility, or gymnasium, or locker room, a safe space or a place that they can develop not only physically but mentally, in the locker room or meeting rooms, to have a good place to meet, or even a cafeteria to sit down and eat lunch. And so these young men and young women need that in high schools. And I'm going to tell you something, Dave. When you look up and go to Nashville is shot by us as far as facilities and, the quality of coaches. They've shot past us. You just take a tour of some of those public and private schools.
Are you talking private, or are you talking public in that regard?
I'm talking public and private, Dave. The facilities of some of these, even in Jackson, Mississippi, the public and private schools in Jackson, a lot of the private schools in Jackson, public schools in Jackson, Mississippi, have phenomenal facilities. Over in Arkansas, most of the schools in Arkansas have indoor facilities. I'm talking about public school systems. So we're just behind here in Memphis. We're lagging behind a lot.
I know Bartlett is about to have an indoor. Tim Jones, their principal, was talking a little bit about that a couple of weeks ago.
And Briarcrest has built one, and they're going to close it in a couple of years. So you got some teams, your Collierville's got one. You got some places are moving in the right direction, and just everybody else got to catch up.
Whitehaven seems to be moving in the direction that is positive. They are 3-1 in 8-6A. They're undefeated, but so is Houston. They're 4-0 on the year. That game in Germantown at Houston High School. What happens?
Well, I tell you what, Dave. Coach Salisbury. We know he's a legendary coach. Whitehaven is a storied program dating back to Stan Collins and Tommy Harrison. And I'll tell you, this is going to be a clash for the Titans. And, Coach Thomas, his team, that defense is phenomenal. Whitehaven has been running the ball well. They tailback is averaging 200 yards a game. He's almost at 1,000 yards almost halfway through the season. So it's going to be a tale of who can stop the run tonight. And I think Houston will get it done. I think they'll have Whitehaven their second loss. I just think Houston, Dave, is probably one of the most solid teams in this state as far as offense, defense, and special teams. And they do have depth. They got depth up front on the D-line and O-line. So they're one of the strongest teams in the state.
I saw a piece on that running back at Whitehaven. He's only a junior. He'll be back next year. He could break all the Whitehaven rushing records. Is he considered a college prospect? In the video I saw him, he's pretty small.
Yeah, he's small, but let me tell you something, Dave. A lot of guys are small that's playing in the NFL. Look at Christian McCaffrey. And you look at guys in college. There's a place for the little man. He just the right school has got to recruit him. He's got to make a good choice. But there is a place for the small guy in football, because we all need The football coaches need explosive guys that can make plays, and he's one of them.
One thing he's got you can't coach. That's speed. You either got it.
He's a track guy too, Dave. So that helps a lot.
Germantown, unbelievable. They ran the table regular season last year. They're 2-2, but they're playing Cordova, struggling a bit at 1-2. This seems like it's going to be all Germantown tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Gene Robinson coming off a tough loss up at Riverdale last week, and Germantown played one of the toughest schedules. You look at their front loaded the front end of their schedule. It's heavy loaded up front, and so this will be a game. I think they'll go in and dominate. Get a lot of guys from reps, second and third string guys. I think they'll take care of business early and get some guys rested up because they still got to go through the rest of that gauntlet in their league with Bartlett and Collierville.
And they get White Station's got Bartlett tonight. Bartlett losers to Collierville. I think that was a bit of an upset. White Station, after a terrible performance at Christian Brothers, they've sort of righted their ship. They're at 500 at 2-2. How do you break that down?
Yeah, and, Coach Conley, tough loss last week. Coming out of over those last two wins, a tough loss last week to Whitehaven. But I'm gonna tell you, he's got his work cut out tonight. That running back from Bartlett, we saw him in week 1 versus MUS. I think he'll get back on track. He's just tough to handle. They get to leaning on. They're big up front, and Bartlett has a good scheme. They got players that can execute it. I just think this will be a tough assignment for Coach Conley and his defense tonight. I'm giving a nod to Bartlett. I think running the game will get going, and it'll be too much for White Station tonight.
Collierville is at home against Arlington. They're struggling. They're 1-3. Collierville's becoming the surprise. I think that's pretty easy. I'm pretty sure you'll pick Collierville. Then you got Hamilton at East. Hamilton, we just talked about the controversy that's going on there. Their coaches are gone. Their AD knocked the player off. And they're at East that is 3-1. I would think because of all the uncertainty, you would probably go with East here.
Yeah, and hopefully Hamilton can rally the troops. But anytime you take a head coach away, Dave, and his assistants, that's a tough hill to climb. You're coming out of last week's game. The coach hadn't been there. The voice they're used to hearing, and the assistant coach's voice they're used to hearing. You remove that from the equation, and now it's another guy talking, other assistant coaches talking, who probably hadn't been around the program. And so I'm giving the nod these. I saw them against Melrose in week 0. They got a pretty good team. They got speed and athleticism across the board. I'm going to get a nod these because I think Hamilton is still going to be trying to search to find a leader from the head coaching spot until they get all this stuff rectified.
Middle College, 4-0 at ECS, a private school, 2-1. I don't know much about Middle College, to be totally honest with you. Do they have a chance?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's why we play the game, Dave. You got to line up, and that ball's got to be kicked off, and somebody's got to run downfield and cover, and then the pass gets to popping. So I just think Coach Butler, he's well groomed to push that record up another win tonight. I think Middle College will see a team tonight that's very well coached and disciplined, and they probably hadn't ran into a buzzsaw like that yet. And so I'm nodding toward Coach Butler and ECS tonight. I think they'll have Middle College their first loss tonight.
Another public versus private. Mitchell's 3-0 at FACS. They are 3-0. Non-region competition here.
Yeah, some's got to give tonight, and Mitchell's on the up and up, on the come up, and 4-0, and they ain't probably been 4-0 in a long time. But we mentioned Coach McDaniel lost his dad last week. He's probably got a lot of things emotionally going on, but I think his kids and his coach is a circle of wagon. They'll win one for the coach tonight, honor his father. I think FACS will be fired up and get this win for coach tonight, knowing how he's got to be feeling on the inside losing his father.
Excellent, my friend. Thank you very much. A lot of interesting stories, that is for sure, in high school football this week. Get out. The weather's going to be perfect. Get out and enjoy one of these games tonight. Thank you, Glenn. We'll talk
Absolutely.
next Friday.
Yes, sir, Dave. And big win for for Ryan Silverfield and his staff last week against Coach Norvell. A hell of a win for the Tigers last week, Dave.
No question. And now they got another one, a tough one at Navy. That will be tomorrow at at exactly 2:30. Thank you, my friend.
Yes,
we appreciate it.
Yes, sir, buddy. Go Tigers, go.
You got it. That's Glenn Rogers, brought to you by Southern Security. I love talking about Southern Security because this this is a place that is all about like being part of the family. Whether you're a small business owner, a single mom buying your first home, Southern Security is really the place to trust. It's your trusted financial partner for over 75 years. They've been serving the Mid-South community with unbeatable rates, the best of service, and always the newest technology. Wait till you see the new place in Collierville. Voted best credit union in the Mid-South for 6 consecutive years. You can find out more on how you can join by going to southernsecurity.org, or maybe the best thing is talk to a service team member at 901-452-7900. Yes, you can actually talk to a person. At Southern Security, proud supporter of U of M Athletics and 901 Women, Southern Security, your home team credit union, federally insured by NCUA. We go to Chicago, the Windy City, and our agent from Priority Sports, Andy Schiffman. We talk NBA when we come back.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
For retro cruiser styling packed with modern innovations, riders of all skill levels choose a Honda Rebel. Incredible motorcycles with a stripped-down style and a full package of features. Both the 300 and the 500 offer compact power inside a lightweight frame. Combined with a low slim seat, the Rebel is easy to start on. And with new colors for this year, they are impossible to ignore. Go to DeSoto Honda to check out the 2023 Honda Rebels. Cruisers with timeless style and performance to enjoy every second. Never use the street as a racetrack with the law of the building. Summer may be over, but yard work, it goes on. Don't worry, Colonial Hardware makes it easy for you. Colonial Hardware has all the lawn and garden tools you need from the best brands in the business. Ferris, Snapper, Husqvarna, Toro, Echo, Shindaiwa, and Billigo. Servicing most brands of lawn equipment, Colonial's master service techs will keep you going year-round. Colonial Hardware, family-owned and operated, and serving you for nearly 50 years. Thanks to Mass Pro and Lincoln at Sycamore View, and online at colonialhardwareinc.com.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Mitsubishi's final days of summer sales event is about to be gone, so you better hurry to Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. Get 42 MPG Highway and 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage, $17,930 or $299 a month. 2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, we Gossett at $27,245 or $349 a month. And get 420 total range MPGE and 2024 Outlander PHEV, $32,750 or $390 a month. Plus, you'll never go wrong with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today at 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at memphismitsubishi.com. That's Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
14767 MSRP 18430 Eclipse RZO 65450 MSRP 28745 PHEV RZO 66681 MSRP 42750 includes all rebates and incentives. 1095 acquisition fee, 25 cents per mile excess wear and tear, includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695 excludes tax, title, and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month with approved credit dealer stock only.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
All we hear is Radio Gaga.
We'll head to Chicago momentarily. Andy Schiffman brought to you in part by Grind City Brewing. And their newest product, by the way, is called Gator Patrol. It is a tangerine cream sour. Wow. You know, I've gotten a couple of cans and I've tried it. It's unique. It's sweet, tart, refreshing. It's a sour for fall time. It's fruited sour, or they like to say it's sunshine in the glass. We'll let you decide. Gator Patrol is bright and juicy tangerine sweetness, perfectly balanced by a subtle hint of cream. Brewed to be a less tart option for those more humid days, the sour welcomes new beer drinkers and sour lovers alike. I know it sounds crazy, but all you got to do is try it, and then you'll thank me later. Grind City's newest thing, it's called Gator Patrol, their tangerine cream sour. Let's head to the Windy City, and Andy Schiffman joins us now. We are 2 weeks out from training camps all beginning. Joel Embiid just signed a new deal, $64+ million. That's for 3 years. Each year he gets 64+. If you're a star, you're going to be over $60 million now in the new NBA, huh?
Absolutely. It's good to be an NBA player. We've talked about it in the past, you and I, Dave. I've been with Prairie Sports now for almost 13 years. When I came on to the player representation side, the max contract in the NBA was probably definitely less than $30 million, depending on how many years you've spent in the NBA. The NBA minimum was around $500,000, and that's more than doubled. Obviously, the max salary is more than doubled, and we're only going up from here.
I know I'm an old fogey, okay, and this is going to prove that I'm an old fogey, but it's really mind-boggling to me. You're talking about, oh, my God, when I first got involved, it was $30 million. I can remember, granted, I was a kid, but I remember when Mickey Mantle, the New York Yankee great, the kid from Oklahoma who had charisma, a personality, everybody loved him, and a big bat. Mickey Mantle was the first guy, I think, in any major league to surpass $100,000 a year. Now, that was probably early 60s, I would bet that occurred. $100,000. And now it will, in my lifetime, I know this will happen, I hope anyway, that in my lifetime, I will see the first $100 million a year guy. And it may come from the NBA.
Absolutely. I believe it. I believe you will, and I believe it will. I mean, just to put that in perspective, what you're talking about, LeBron James makes almost $500,000 per day just in his playing contract. Think about that. And then what you're talking about, Mickey Mantle, one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Again, everything is put in perspective. Everything is relative. Inflation, the cost of living, definitely different. But it is pretty remarkable. And again, like what numbers will we be looking at 5 to 10 years from now when it comes to max extensions in the NBA, much less other sports as well. But I do think you'll see it in the NBA in your lifetime for sure.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the LeBron and the daily thing. I saw this is the best stat I've seen. Scotty Scheffler made $63 million. That has nothing to do with endorsements, right? $63 million this year from earnings, period. With the new restructured Thank You Live PGA Tour, signature events, and everything else. He only played 19 tournaments. Somebody figured out he made $3,000 every time he struck the ball.
That's unbelievable.
Is that not crazy?
I'm glad I went to law school with no athletic ability.
Your dad tried to make you a golfer. You just didn't have talent.
You know what he had. You know what he tried to get me into, Dave, years ago when I was little, which I still am. Had a football tee out in the front yard, trying to turn me into a kicker.
Yeah.
Because in my stature, that's probably the only thing I could ever do in football. I did not work out, but he tried. I give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, you got to play soccer first. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. I guess the NBA is the highest paying major league, isn't it? If we
right
look
now
at
it is.
now, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Man, it's come a long way, baby. That is for sure. Interesting story this week. The guy that broke all the stories had all of the agents like you in his cell phone, their numbers. Woj retiring. I you know what? It was high pressure to keep that up. I think he'd done it for 7 years. I think he said, you know, I proved what I wanted to do. I've made my legacy, and now I want to go back. Apparently, he's made some pretty decent money along the way. Now I want to go back and help my alma mater, St. Bonaventure, which, you know, I know he's not making great money doing what he's doing as the NIL coordinator. But your impressions on Woj, the biggest story breaker in the NBA, him and Shams, I guess. But I think Woj really was, I would say, number one.
I agree. Woj is a good friend of mine, and I couldn't be happier for him individually because I know the toll that job and that profession took on his mental health, life, etc. And I've been with him so many times where we're having a conversation. We're having a coffee, eating dinner. He's in my office, sitting there. And I think I'm addicted to my phone in a negative way, obviously always on edge that I may miss an opportunity for a player or a player needs me. But the number of times I've sat with him and he's got his phone on the table, every 2 seconds his eyes are darting to his phone. And he told me a story years ago, and I think this is the beginning where I truly felt that, okay, I think that Woj will probably be transitioning out of this role sooner than later. He was telling me a story where he was outside at his home in Connecticut, and he looked across the street and saw a father and son playing catch in the front yard. And pretty much the entire time, the father was on his phone, not really engaged in what he was doing with his son. And Woj told me, I saw that. I don't want that to be me. And I think in this industry, that's exactly what you have to do, really. You have to kind of be in that mindset and be, quote unquote, addicted to your phone to turn, to become what he's become, right? And the same thing with Shams, all these guys. Their job is to report the news. And I think both Woj, both Shams, a number of other people, they do a really good job of reporting the news and reporting it accurately, very quickly. The one thing that I love about Woj is he was very genuine and authentic as a person, and there was no surface level relationship where he's only trying to get information from you. He's a good friend of mine, like I said, and I can say that and remove his profession and what he was doing with ESPN from the equation. And so I'm really happy for him because I know how important his alma mater is to him and his family, St. Bonaventure. I have a player that I represent, Andrew Nicholson, that was in the NBA for years. He helped Priority Sports get that player who played at St. Bonaventure, Andrew Nicholson, who's now over in Korea. And we still talk about Andrew all the time. He's always looking out for Andrew. He just cares about people. He cares about players. And I think that throughout the summer, right, Woj, you have no life. You are constantly talking to teams, trying to break news. And I think that a big difference between Woj and Shams, he grinds. He's a younger guy. A lot of those interactions are just, what information can I get from you,
right,
so I can report the news. And I do tend to think, not to say anything about his character, but I think he kind of lives for the tweets and the likes and the retweets. Woj doesn't. I genuinely think he hated that, but this is his job, and he was doing it very well. But he didn't really care about all those things that just don't matter in life. And I think a lot of other younger people in that side of the industry care about it. It's a long-winded way for me to say I couldn't be happier. I think for me as an agent, right, like I'll be disappointed not being able to deal with Woj and give him stories about contracts that I sign with my players and news. But I'm going to remain in touch with him, as I said, because he is a good friend. And I think he is going to get paid relatively good money for that position as the general manager. A lot of universities now are hiring general managers to handle the collective conversations with college athletes and recruits, to handle NIL, to be creative and think of new ways to bring NIL opportunities to their program. And I think he's going to be a phenomenal ambassador for that athletic department, for that team. So I'm excited to kind of see how he grows that side of the St. Bonaventure NIL department.
I wish him the best. Does he have kids?
Yes, he's got a son that's in college out in Denver. I think that may be his only kid.
Okay.
But anecdotal.
I hope he played catch with him without looking at his phone then.
Exactly. And his wife and I have become close, too, because she's a huge fan of Dave Matthews Band. And Woj, being Woj, has very good connections, and he even got me to a concert years ago in L.A. with his wife while he sat next to Scott Boras behind home plate at a Dodgers game.
All right. It seems as if it will be an inevitability, the way everybody's talking, that the league will expand. We talked about this last week.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle and Vegas, let's just say they come in. Now, you got too many teams in the West, 17 to 15. Who moves to the East? It seems like it would come down to the Grizz, Minnesota, or New Orleans. Who do you think gets to move to the East? I would love for the Grizz to move to the East. It would make it much easier for travel. That is for certain. I think it's an easier conference.
I do think it's definitely easier travel. I think that the Eastern Conference, obviously with Boston being crowned champion, and the emergence over the years, over the last 5 to 6 years of Philadelphia, of Milwaukee. I don't think the East is as relatively weak as it used to be compared to the West. I think for a very long time, you ask any avid NBA fan which conference is stronger, for sure the West every single year, with the success, continued success every single year of the likes of the Lakers and, back in the day, obviously even the Thunder and the Spurs. And I think that's slowly starting to tip the other way. So I would care less about that, probably more about the travel. My gut would tell me between those three, it's a toss-up. I'd probably say Minnesota is my guess. Why? I don't know. That's just a hunch, Dave. But I would probably say Minnesota may be the front runner to move if they did end up moving a team out of the West into the East. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. First, they got to obviously procure these teams and expand the league.
And then finally, we mentioned, remember the New Jersey threat to the Philadelphia 76ers? They offered them $400 million, in tax breaks to move across the river. Apparently, Philly and the governor of Pennsylvania, they've decided that they will help them in a new $1.3 billion arena that actually is not going to be where the ballparks are. Like where the hockey team is and where the Sixers play now, there's Lincoln Financial, the football field. There's Franklin Field, that is the baseball stadium that is right there.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually going to move closer to where City Hall is. I think it's their Chinatown area, but $1.3 billion for a basketball arena.
I think it's great. I think you've seen the Clippers building a new arena. I think it's going to just instill continued success for the Sixers. I think it's going to attract a lot of new free agents. Obviously, it's going to get fans excited. But I think whenever you see rejuvenation of an NBA franchise in the form of a brand new arena, everyone gets excited top to bottom. So I think it's great for the city. I think it's great for the team. I just think the direction that team is heading, obviously locking up Embiid now, they were a salary captain team this year. There's a lot of excitement with them adding Paul George. And now kind of a cherry on top is the plan for a new arena, especially closer to the downtown area. I think it's phenomenal. I applaud the Sixers for doing that. They should stay in Philadelphia for sure. I'm glad they are. So I think it's going to be exciting to see. And I think too, we will see new arenas, at least arenas being renovated or updated for the next several years to come. I think you're going to see an influx of that.
You'll see it in Memphis for the tune of $550 million. I guess when you're getting $1.3 billion, you can afford the $193 million you're paying Embiid.
Yep.
Lots of money in the NBA. Thank you, my friend, as always. We appreciate it. We'll do this again next Friday.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
That's our guy in Chicago. That is Andy Schiffman. He's brought to you in part by Miramichi. Miramichi, the total golf experience. From the best practice facilities of any public golf course I've ever seen. I'm talking sand trap practice, chipping green practice. I'm talking the biggest putting green I've ever seen. And then there's a true driving range with a whole different area for the members. I mean, it's complete. A complete clubhouse with great food service. Great service. The people in there make it easy to enjoy the experience. And the experience includes beauty, because the golf course is gorgeous, and competition. They have the Bubba there. They have the Sneds Tour there. They have great competition from 7,000 yards back. Or if you want to move up to 5,000, go ahead. You'll test yourself. It's the complete golf experience at Miramichi, 12 minutes north of downtown, 22 minutes from my driveway in East Memphis. We pause for a second. When we come back, Brian Dacus on the Ross Dellinger story today, conference expansion. What's going on there? And, the Tigers play at Navy tomorrow. All that is next.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 95 FM.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
It's Western Trading Days at Sunrise Chevrolet Buick GMC of Faulknerville. Almost $10,000 off MSRP on a new 24 Sierra 1500 Denali Ultimate 4x4. Even get over $3,000 off MSRP on a new 24 Buick Encore GX. Sunrise Chevrolet Buick GMC of Collierville. We make it fun to buy a car. We are professional grade.
Price does not include licensing costs, registration fees, taxes, and dealer doc fee of $7.99, which are to be paid by the consumer. Sierra RZ 323,623, MSRP 87,500, dealer discount 7218, purchase allowance 2750, Encore SB 011,607, MSRP 31,130, dealer discount 3135, expires 9/30/24.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
You're a contractor and you need concrete coating and supplies in Memphis fast, and you get this answer? I think we can order that stuff, but you're going to have to wait a few days for delivery. Why wait? Get your concrete coatings and supplies now at TSS Supply, where everything you need is in stock. If you're working in the tri-state Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi area, everything you need for concrete coating is at TSS Supply, 5665 East Rains Road, Memphis. TSS Supply specializes only in concrete coatings and supplies all in one place. If you're looking for a particular item, need large quantities, or just have general questions, call 901-729-0565, 729-0565, or you can email your question to Brad at tsssupply.com. The friendly, knowledgeable folks at TSS Supply have over 150 years combined experience in concrete coatings, materials, and supplies. Come by and visit TSS Supply Friday, September 27th. Sports 56 will be broadcasting live from 7 to 10 a.m. with Greg and Eli, and then John Harden from 11 to 1. Sports 56 will have free giveaways plus breakfast and lunch during the live broadcast. TSS Supply, 5665 East Rains Road.
My phone was blowing up this morning when Ross Dellinger at yahoo.com had published a story about the Tigers and the potential invitation to the Pac, whatever we're going to call it. It was a very flattering story, calling Memphis the jewel of the AAC, that it's really resting in their hands whether they, South Florida and Tulane, would move to this new conference. He also pointed out that in a presentation to schools that the commissioner of the Pac-12 has said there would be $12 to $15 million in TV revenue. Maybe the best part is that you get out of this thing in 5 years if you want. which is when all the other 31 is when all these other schools can make their moves if they choose to. In the AAC, at least it would be down from the incredibly penal position they're in right now to leave. Boy, that sounds pretty impressive. But the thing that most struck me was, for the first time that I can remember, Memphis is wanted.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different feeling. We kind of talked about it before this segment. It hasn't been that. It's been, you're chasing after the Big East, you're chasing after the Big 12, you're chasing for this idea that down the line you could be in the ACC, and now you've got a conference that is really making you a priority, it seems like. And so I thought the Ross Dellinger piece was interesting. I thought you kind of mentioned it, the fact that he kind of alluded to the idea that Tulane, USF, and Memphis might be a package deal, and it might come down to what Memphis decides to do, which is really interesting, and I think shows how much, and he even said this, how big of a factor the University of Memphis is in terms of the Group of Five and the landscape of the Group of Five. And you mentioned the 12 to 15. I would love that. That would be a huge piece to a puzzle of if you're going to go to the Pac-12. Now, he did later in that story say that is just kind of speculation on their part of what they think they can get, projections, and that, I think he had a quote from somebody he talked to that said it would be a gamble to kind of go because there isn't a TV deal in place yet, and so you still don't know who is that TV deal going to be with, what is it going to look like. The one thing that struck me that I hadn't even thought about in all of this conversation for the Pac-12 is the Pac-12 network, and I guess that's still a thing, and I guess it would still be a thing if all of these teams joined. I guess it will be with the teams that have joined. I've always been a hater of the Pac-12 network. Now, I'm guessing if Memphis goes to the Pac-12,
I've never watched the Pac-12 network to like it or hate it.
I mean, it's available nowhere, it feels like, unless you were on the West Coast. So I guess if Memphis was in there, we would have access here locally to the Pac-12 network.
These networks per se, they've almost always been controlled by ESPN anyway. And you take the Longhorn network. I mean, that bombed.
Yeah. And Pac-12 network was terrible.
Was Fox a part of that Pac-12 network? I think
a good question.
That they were.
I would say
because if that was the case, then Fox would be in this mix.
Yeah.
Here, just to clarify, for me, my sense of it would be, if you're getting those three schools and Washington State and Oregon State plus Fresno State, San Diego State, Boise State.
The idea that maybe Gonzaga for basketball,
that could get thrown in there sooner or later. I mean, and the television money, if that's true. So I clarify, if those funds are true, I don't see how you turn this down, because you're out in 31 when the ACC might make their move, or the Big 12 could make their move, whatever it may be. You're free to make your move. I don't think there's any buyout you got to worry about or anything of that nature. And there's no guarantee you're going to get that 8 to 10 because I frankly worry that ESPN spending all that money on the SEC is going to go, we just lost the Dallas market with SMU, the Orlando market with UCF, Houston with Houston, and Cincinnati. Those are 4 big markets. They're no longer part of that deal. Why would we pay you what we paid you?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think, what you mentioned is huge, because I think a lot of people who are on the side of stay, and I'll be completely honest, I've kind of been in the middle of this whole thing ever since it started. I think there's great points on both sides to stay or to go. But I think a lot of the people that are arguing to stay, it's been you don't want to get tied up into a conference, and then let's say the ACC actually wants you down the road, and
you got an out.
With this story, yes, it seems like you would have an out in that scenario, and I think in terms of just trying to position yourself the best way you can, I think going and playing in that conference would certainly be better competition. It sounds like it would certainly be more money. Now, travel is definitely still a question for that, but I do think if you want to be in the best conference, I think the Pac-12 right now is a much better conference than the American.
Well, and the 12 to 15 more than makes up
Sure.
for the loss
Exactly.
of $2 to $3 million, which is what I am told the extra travel expenses would be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It seems to me, if indeed the Dellinger stuff is factual,
yes,
that it's a pretty good deal.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
It's
if
a
you can get that
pretty
money,
darn good
that makes
deal.
up for
Yeah.
a lot of your concerns.
And in my mind, a much more intriguing league.
Sure, 100%.
I mean, I'd much rather play any of those schools than, I mean, who's left? There's not a, you don't have, other than UAB.
Sure.
You don't have a rival.
And if we're being honest, Dave, I mean, how many people really view that as a real rivalry that people get up for? I mean, I
don't know.
It's, I think it's still a rivalry. You're
And
playing
let's
for
be
a
honest,
trophy,
go
but
would you rather play Rice or Boise State? I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's.
I mean,
it's
all the
very
schools
easy.
that you cared about are gone.
Sure, and I think we were talking to Bill Bender from the Sporting News yesterday, and he brought up a good point that if you leave and Tulane goes with you, obviously it sounds like now South Florida could be in that package as well. You still have those kind of more eastern schools, and Tulane. There's been a lot of really good games, both football and basketball, in the last couple of years with Tulane. Maybe you start something, a nice rivalry with them, and get something going to a new league.
You're talking about a long ride.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been talking about Oregon to Rutgers. How about Oregon State, or Washington State
to South Florida?
Florida.
Yeah,
holy
that's a lot.
That is a long trip. All right, Memphis is making a trip. I'll be at the airport right from here.
Right.
Navy. Hasn't played anybody. So I don't really know how we get this barometer. They're much improved.
Sure.
But a lot of people think they are much improved. They have a former head coach who's now their OC, so they've made new wrinkles to the triple option. He'd been involved in the triple option before, but there's a lot more passing. They've had 14 pass attempts per game, if you go by average, 28 attempts.
Sure.
That's literally 28% of their offense has been passing.
Wow.
You still have the triple option. That fullback that went 80 yards for a touchdown against Memphis is still there. The quarterback who came in for a little bit has really been pretty good dual threat.
Sure.
But that's against Temple and Bucknell.
Yes.
Now you're going to play against Memphis, and they've beaten Navy 5 times in a row. They do run the ball, 280 yards a game.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
And they ran the ball pretty well against Memphis a year ago. So
Absolutely.
this will be a true test, but it's a different defense. And
Absolutely.
I do think it's a much better defense. And instead of having an extra defensive lineman, now you got an extra linebacker,
right.
which you would think would match up with the smaller but speedier Navy O-line. Give me your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You hear a lot of Navy's better, but a lot of that came after they their rout against Temple, and I think Temple was one of the worst FBS teams in the country.
I agree.
They just have not showed anything, and so I mean, I think anytime you play Navy, we see it every single year. They're going to give you fits. They're going to do things that you're not used to. It's completely different. It's that one standalone game that's going to be entirely different than anybody else you play the rest of the season. But I think you're right. I said it yesterday. This defense that Memphis has right now, the way they've played through 3 games, is miles better than I could have even imagined it being in the offseason. I think there was a lot of questions on what it would look like. We didn't really know much because you're bringing in Jordan Hankins. We kind of saw him in that one game in the interim role, but we didn't really know what the defense would look like. We didn't know how these new pieces would mesh, and they've been great through 3 games. And so, I like their how aggressive they are. I like what Jordan Hankins is throwing out there. So I'm really high on this defense, and I think the Tigers are gonna win. I think unless it's moved. Yesterday when I was looking at the line, it was about 9.5.
I think it's 9 now.
I think they cover that. I think they win by double digits. But certainly, I think early you could see Navy give them some fits because that usually always happens with the way their offense runs.
Hankins, by the way, 2-0 against Power 4, 4-0
Wow, how about that?
as the DC. Pretty impressive stuff.
That's
As always,
incredible.
my friend, thank you much. We'll talk to you next
Thanks,
Friday.
Dave.
That'll do it for us. I'll talk to you Monday after what I hope will be a very positive experience heading to Annapolis. Final portion of the show brought to you by the Spirit Shop. Yes, tailgating is starting tonight with high school football. It'll continue tomorrow wherever you may be. To tailgate, you stop by and see Eddie Connor right there at Poplar and St. Nick. It is everybody's Spirit Shop because it's so beautifully located. 4848 Poplar and St. Nick, heart of East Memphis, that little log cabin you've passed by forever, just down from Clark Tower. Great service, great product. Rare, middle of the road, and bargains, and you get an education on why each is what it is if you go see Eddie Connor at the Spirit Shop. That'll do it. We'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.